Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something seriously unique. We're decoding a text called Abwor Land, Section 87 by Lanokueyn Walter NE. And let me tell you, this is not your typical run-of-the-mill corporate business manual. It's a deeply philosophical, kind of esoteric, and intensely personal manifesto on wealth, psychology, and literally how to survive the modern commercial jungle in Uganda. It's a wild ride, so let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, we gotta define Abwor. According to the Leb Lango to English dictionary used in the text, Abwor translates to a lion, a large, powerful cat. It's totally fitting. It sets up the author's geographical roots in northern Uganda, but more than that, it perfectly captures the powerful, almost predatory mindset he says you absolutely need to conquer the commercial sphere. To unpack all of this, we're gonna look at 5 core pillars, mapping the author's journey to wealth. The subconscious commercial mind, a bold presidential encounter, the network marketing reality, mastering stay-off times, and your brand as currency. Section 1, the subconscious commercial mind. Let's start with the foundation here, how an entrepreneur's brain subconsciously attracts or, frankly, repels wealth. The author hits us right out of the gate with this striking quote. Tomorrow never accounts for its own. It's his golden rule of aggressive reinvestment. He's saying that real entrepreneurs don't just sit back and relax after a win. Nope, they reinvest immediately. They don't wait around for some safety net. Honestly, have you ever caught yourself holding back after a big win? Well, according to this philosophy, that hesitation is the ultimate enemy of growth. So, look at how he contrasts these two mindsets. On one hand, you have the aggressive entrepreneur. Their motto is basically do it if it's right. They learn the risks, and they just decisively reinvest, even if their accounts are looking a little low. Then, on the other hand, you've got the conservative entrepreneur. They're playing it safe, watching every single step, just trying to pile up cash and retain as much as possible. But the author argues, and this is key, that throwing yourself into new, extreme environments actually forces your subconscious brain to adapt to new commercial laws. Basically, if you surround yourself with aggressive, wealth-building minds, your brain automatically starts selecting ideas that hit like a lightning bolt for profitable transactions. Moving right along to Section 2, a bold presidential encounter. Now, we get to see this intense philosophy in action through a deeply personal and, honestly, incredibly bold story set in Lyra. Picture this. The author is meditating at the Lango Cultural Center. Now, a bit of context. His earlier ventures, like a shoe business, phone repair, welding, they'd all kind of flopped or stalled out. But right here, during this meditation, he has this massive realization. He feels this profound synchronization and realizes he is literally sitting right in the middle of a field of wealth. He starts mapping out his physical surroundings. Right at his nape is All Saints University. Over to the east, that's the stadium of John Akibua, the country's first Olympic gold medalist. To his left is the home of a massively wealthy commercial man who's building a huge mall. And right in front of him is a golf course, plus the home of former President Dr. Apollo Milton Obote. See what he's doing here? He's anchoring his abstract commercial goals to these massive, tangible, real-world monuments of success right in his own neighborhood. As you can see, the author has a super stylized way of writing. He actually uses numbers instead of letters a lot of the time, kind of like a code or elite speak, to tell his story. So he's sitting in this field of wealth during an election period, and he finds out that Jimmy James Michael Akena Obote, the son of the former president, is resting at his father's house. Kicking his aggressive commercial instinct into high gear, the author decides he has to capitalize on this. No joke, he just boldly walks straight into the Obote family compound. Okay, so here's the climax. He literally steps inside the house. It's dark, there are these black couches, the TV is off, and there's Akena Obote, just scrolling on his phone. The young author manages to build rapport. He introduces himself, talks about his studies, and essentially absorbs this atmosphere of absolute top-tier success. And he's smart about it. He keeps his words measured because he absolutely doesn't want to come off as time-luxurious or, foolish. As he's getting ready to leave, Akena actually offers him some money for transport. But the author pauses at the door and confesses something super personal. He says, "I have always wanted to enter this house." Akena just gives this honest laugh and replies with a seriously memorable line. This is the people's house. The big takeaway from this whole wild encounter, this single moment gives the author his ultimate commercial motivation. He doesn't just go and spend that transport money. He uses the very idea of those currency notes to fuel his drive and unlock his biggest goals through intense study. Which brings us to Section 3, the network marketing reality. Let's see how all this high-level lion mindset stuff actually translates into the everyday grind. Network marketing is where the rubber really meets the road for the author. He faces this absolute gauntlet of contacts. Think about it. You've got people who flat out decline coming, people who just can't decide, people who actually show up, and hey, people who finally join. It really starts to show you the sheer volume of human interaction and, let's be real, the emotional exhaustion that's totally mandatory in this kind of business. And the list just keeps going. You're dealing with uncompleted deposits, totally ignored messages, complete ghosting. Enduring this massive wave of varied responses proves a harsh truth. Maintaining commerce requires an unbelievable amount of emotional endurance. You have to navigate so much predictable rejection and delay without losing your mind.
So how do you survive this constant barrage of human unpredictability? Well, he drops a pretty harsh reality on us. An entrepreneur literally cannot afford to take a single day off. He says that if you relax for even one day, you are predictably losing the next day's commercial opportunities. The market is always rising and falling, right? If you aren't constantly studying and taking action, you fail. You've got to squeeze the juice out of every single commercial possibility, whether that's unforeseen sales, anticipating what potential clients might need, or doing what he calls fading the commerce.
And that perfectly tees up Section 4, mastering stay-off times. This non-stop daily grind naturally leads into his concept of strategic withdrawal.
Here's where he introduces some pretty unique jargon: fading commerce. He defines this as investing your energy to excess, spending money to get things done, and stretching your time to the absolute limit until normality finally reigns within your business entity. But to balance out that crazy intense output, an entrepreneur has to master stay-off times. These are periods of total silence in the commercial environment where you go off the radar. You do deep work, calculate interest rates, and just mentally prepare yourself behind the scenes.
During these incredibly scarce times when sales dry up and things go completely quiet, you cannot panic. Instead, he says you have to build a diamond store. Now, he's not talking about a physical jewelry shop here. It's a mental and capital reserve. You're storing up knowledge, queuing up uncompleted deals, and educating yourself so you can survive what he calls midnight commerce days, those utterly destitute eras when the market just gives you absolutely nothing. So think about your own downtime for a second. Are you just resting, or are you secretly building your diamond store? Finally, we arrive at Section 5, your brand as currency. Let's look at how the author brings these intense philosophies into the 21st century with tangible digital assets. He lays down this huge statement. The moment one knows one is their own brand, one has literally got the greatest entrepreneurial deal of their exchange done. He's basically saying your personal brand isn't just a logo. It's an automatic, recurring capital generator. Every time someone interacts with your brand out in the wild, a transaction is happening. Your brand is literally operating as its own currency out there in the commercial sphere, and it's on you to build systems that tap into that flowing money. And to prove this isn't just theory, he tracks his own digital footprint. Did I mention he's also a hip-hop artist? He operates under the name N41Z-Fork. He's got 6 hip-hop records and 3 internet uploads. But here's the genius part. He doesn't just view these tracks as art. To him, they are literal, exchangeable commodities that his potential clients are buying with their time and attention. This data table perfectly illustrates his growth strategy. He meticulously tracks his brand's footprint. Look at the 2.7 megabyte track, for example. In June 2024, it had 1,239 plays, and by August, it bumped up to 1,267. Downloads went from 253 up to 261. The 3.6 megabyte track saw a similar jump from 415 to 447 plays. He's translating raw digital plays and downloads over a short 2-month window into hard, undeniable proof that his brand's currency is expanding. To him, the people downloading are his distributors, and the people streaming, those are his buyers. Wrapping up our explainer today, we've covered some serious ground. We've traveled from the subconscious mindset of the lion, the Abwor, all the way through bold encounters with political royalty, the grinding everyday realities of network marketing, and finally scaling a personal brand in the digital age. So I want to leave you with one final provocative question straight from his teachings. How are you building your diamond store for your own midnight hours of commerce? Are you just waiting around for the market to recover, or are you adapting to the new commercial laws? Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and keep building your empire.